जय हिंद दोस्तों, मैं हूं मेजर मोहम्मद अली शाह। अभी कुछ दिन पहले मैं एक पैनल पे था, एक डिबेट पे था ऑन न्यूज़ एक्स एंड ऑफ कोर्स इससे पहले भी मैं पैनल्स कर चुका हूं विद प्रणय अग्रवाल, अ वेरी डियर फ्रेंड, एंड वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ फ्रेंड्स इन कॉमन एज वेल। सो प्रणय की जो थिंकिंग थी, जो आइडियोलॉजी थी, जो फिलॉसफी थी, वो मेरे को बहुत भाई। मैं कहा भाई ये साहब बड़े ही बैलेंस एनालिसिस करते हैं, इनके साथ एक गुफ्तगू में आया जाए। और ये एक renowned educationalist है of the country. He has represented India on various forums. उस पे आएंगे हम. He trains civil services aspirants. क्या समझे भाई? सिविल सर्विसेज एस्पिरेंट्स जो एक ड्रीम होती है, far fetched dream for a lot of people. People drop a year, 2 years, they prepare, they work very hard, and here the gentleman right in front of you who prepares people. I think one of the finest speakers, very, very balanced views that I've come across. And Pranay, thank you very much for taking your time and welcome.
Thank you, Ali. You are very generous with your praise, I must say. I would say that yes, I have been in teaching and mentoring students for a while now. So that experience does, help more students. What I learn from students, I kind of try to share that with the future generations that I teach. So yes, I do have that advantage of having been associated with a good number of students, and a good number of them have also, yes, cleared the examination. So what I learn from my students, I try to teach it to the others.
Lovely. Teaching is a very noble profession, and I was told earlier that, either the armed forces or medicine, or you be a doctor or teaching. And teachers are something you never forget. You never forget your teachers. I am still in touch with my school teachers and my instructors from the academy who trained me. I mean, we see them as our gurus. So tell me, how did you venture into this profession of teaching, of training the civil service aspirants, or were you yourself a civil services aspirant at one time?
I'll tell you, I have had a very academic kind of atmosphere at home while growing up. So books were always friends. I was always friends with books, and I loved reading very voraciously. Also, at some point of time in my life, I got into mentoring, some children, some needy children, some neighborhood children and stuff. And that is when I kind of stumbled upon this, that I decided it long back then that this is something I want to do for life. And the kind of satisfaction I would say it gives me, possibly nothing else can. And you're absolutely right when you talk about the teachers do have that thing. I'm not saying for myself, but in general, teachers do have that thing that they leave a lasting impression on the minds of young students. In fact, I remember being so overwhelmed by the way of teaching of some of my own teachers way back in school that they inspired me to enter into the profession in many ways.
Wow. So, it's often said that, to be a teacher, you need at least a B.Ed. To be the head of an institution like a headmaster or principal, you need M.Ed and such things. But again, I'm not B.Ed, I'm not M.Ed either. But Pranay, interestingly, I run an online public speaking academy where I train people in effective communication, how to get rid of their stage fright, how to not be camera conscious, how to communicate effectively, how to give interviews. It's about ability. So what is your take on this? There are a lot of people you would have come across who are either B.Ed or M.Ed, but maybe with all due respect to them, but maybe somewhere they are not you. There are a lot of teachers we find who you find that classes very, very interesting.
Yes.
And there's some teachers you get, oh, when will this class get over? Right. So what is your take on getting a B.Ed or an M.Ed degree to get into this field?
Yes, so I'm quite in sync with the viewpoint that you have expressed. The times of having a formal professional degree or qualification in your hand to enter the teaching profession, those times are now that kind of mode of thinking is outdated. Very frankly, today one can learn from peers. Today, one can learn from any person, irrespective of age or this thing, as long as he has the ability and the passion to teach. It is much more about the ability to communicate whatever you know and be able to reach out to the students, establish a connect with them. If I know a lot, okay, I've done PhD and forget masters, but I've done PhD and multiple PhD I'm holding, but I'm unable to put it across in a simple language to you, then all my knowledge is no good as far as your ability to acquire it is concerned. So far more important than piling up formal degrees is the ability to reach out to one's students.
You are
Teaching is also, I would
bang
say,
on,
it
bang
is,
on.
and it is also kind of along with teaching, an integral part of it is mentoring and counseling, very frankly, and that requires dollops of patience. If you've been associated with teaching, you would appreciate to some extent that people have their own pace of learning, something which may be very obvious to an expert in a field. For others, it may take a while to get a hang of it. So
Right.
you need to break it down to the basics, convey it in simple manner. Possibly, I rely a lot on using examples from everyday life. If I have to explain any concept, I would try to give, say, I teach sociology. So if I have to teach anything about society, I would try to pick up examples from our own society, right? And that is how it becomes more palatable, more easy to digest for a student. If I make it too academic, too jargon laden, they will not be able to connect with the subject and they will start yawning the way you were, kind of expressing. So yes, and you have to hold a student's attention for a 2.5 to 3 hours class. That
Oh,
also
I'm
is a
an
challenge.
actor as well ना, तो मैंने वो acting करके दिखाया.
Yes, that was very apt.
Right. Again, I don't have a BEd MEd, but I have been a formal faculty at a reputed educational institute like the Whistling Woods International, Subhash Ghai's Film
Yes,
School in Mumbai. I've been a faculty over
absolutely.
there. We have trained students who aspire to become actors and
Yes.
filmmakers. So we have trained them. And again, as you rightly said, so Pranay, I would like to know, do you hold a BEd or an MEd?
I don't have a BEd MAd. I do have qualifications in the field I'm teaching. So I have done courses in sociology from reputed universities.
Wow.
I have
That is
done my
more
masters
important.
and I've done my masters and I've done courses from Stanford University in US. And so I've done my courses from Stanford University and also the University of Netherlands. So that
I'm
has given me a
awestruck,
good
bro.
international exposure. Sorry?
I'm totally awestruck.
Hey, nahi.
I'm totally
You know.
so superb. So tell me, how did this idea of coaching, of teaching the civil services aspirants come to your mind actually? Again, going back to your initial question, like, when did you think that this could really work well? Because I know you are contributing a great deal to the country, to the government by getting out so many talents in front. So how does the idea strike you initially?
First, I fell in love with the subject and I got very engrossed in studying sociology, the subject that I teach. Also, since my a very young age, I have been, somewhat on and off. I was engaged in teaching and grooming young people younger to me, particularly some children from the needy sections. So later on, I felt that I need to take it on a better scale, right? And that is when I got into it like full time. And once I got a positive feedback. As a teacher, you really rely on you crave, frankly, positive feedback from your students, right? And that is like an oxygen to the teacher. So once I had that, I felt that this is something I would like to dedicate my life to.
That's really
And
very, very
there were
good.
also several. Just to add, there were several retired bureaucrats and some serving officers, senior. who I'm friends with. So they also kind of appreciated my efforts, my style of teaching, and my way of interacting with students, grooming them. So that also kind of served as a confidence booster in those initial years.
Supposing, Pranay, I am a civil service aspirant and I want to get trained and I want to go do coaching and I come across your academy, your classes. Now, how do I join? What is the method if I want to reach out to you, and how do I join for this course?
So the first step that most aspirants would take is they would simply reach out to me directly and have a brief conversation, clarify any doubts they have, any sort of uh, apprehensions that one may have, right? So they clarify, they have a small chit chat with me, ranging from say 5 to 15 minutes. Once they are more sure, uh, and during that conversation, I also advise them that, for instance, that you have to be quite sure in your head that this is the career that you want to pursue, because the civil services examination is very dicey, no matter how hard one and how sincerely one tries. So you have to accept the uncertainty which is built into this examination process. You have to have the kind of dedication and kind of perseverance which this examination requires. And then, of course, you need to be sure about the subject. Actually, the UPSC, which conducts the exams, they offer a very wide array of subjects to choose from for the optional. So one of those subjects I teach, which is sociology. So I ask the candidates that they should be very sure about the subject, that this is the one they want to go ahead with. Once they've done that, then they simply enroll for the classes, complete some joining formalities, and they straight away begin with the course. And I typically do not advise them that they should be having any sort of background in the subject or any background reading. That is also not essential, as long as you are sure that this is the subject you want to go ahead.
Right. So now I would like to know how many students are there in your academy. It's your own academy, I presume. Am I right?
That is correct. I am there as
So,
the academic director.
right.
And
So how many?
yeah, please, you
So
say.
how many students are there in your academy at the moment?
So presently, I'm teaching two offline batches and an online batch. So in the offline batches, I have about 250 to 300 students each batch, and then online also I would have somewhat in a similar range number of students.
Right. And what are the kind of subjects that you cover for the IAS aspirants, apart from sociology, of course, which you specialize in?
So my whole focus throughout my academic career, my teaching career, and before that, like when I was reading, it has been sociology. So that is the only subject. That is my only, very frankly, my only area of expertise and the only subject which I teach. Having
But then
said
when
that, as a friend, I also discuss with my students any difficulties they are facing in their other, portions of the exam, or if they're facing difficulties in kind of scheduling and time management. How do you divide your time between different demands of the exam? And those kind of lot of students discuss their personal issues with me. So that kind of I can offer them a kind of a support and a keen ear, which is
but then tell
because a
me,
lot of students are preparing in a kind of environment of isolation. They cut off from their family. They are like far away from their families. They cut off from their school and college friends. So they need somebody they can talk to. So I happen to be that for a lot of my students.
but tell me, for a civil services aspirant, I mean, if I want to crack the civil services, I would require more than sociology, right? So
Absolutely.
it's not just about you training; it's about your team, your in the academy. What are the other subjects that they would cover?
So we train students for sociology in the main. Apart from that, I uh, help them with the counseling and mentoring, general kind of guidance for the exam, plus dedicated preparation for the interview stage. As I had mentioned, I do have very senior bureaucrats who have graciously agreed to, mentor students along with me, including some of the retired cabinet secretaries, retired foreign secretaries there. One gentleman who was earlier the director of Labasna, which is the training academy for civil servants in Missouri. So he is there. So there is a very competent, there's a former director of the enforcement directorate, a very senior IPS officer. So these are like, a part of my core team who help me mentor students for the D-Day, which is the UPSC Intl.
Wow, that's very, very impressive. That's very, very impressive. We have a house in Missouri, very close to the academy. So that's the
Acha.
time when, yeah, and just some time back, my father had given a lecture over there, and my uncle Nasir Saab, they had done a play for Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy in Missouri. So, of course, and we have friends over there who are teaching there. So it's like really, really prestigious, and we know how it is. So now the trainees over there for IPS or IAS, they do a small little army attachment as well sometimes to get an exposure. So do you have somebody from the armed forces as well who is there with you in your faculty?
Not in the faculty. I do have senior IPS officers retired who help me out, not from the armed forces. I have some students who have been in the army and now they are preparing for the civil services.
Oh, okay. That's
Yes.
very interesting. So they did the short service commission, is it? The
Yes.
participants.
And one of my students, he had taken a bullet. Okay. He was like, while he was preparing, he was posted in Kashmir and he got hurt by a bullet. Then he used to prepare from the hospital, a very dedicated, young, dynamic fellow. And all hats off to his army training, I would say. He literally sent me on WhatsApp his photographs with, that he was in the hospital, but he had the book in his hand. He was saying, "Sir, I'm making notes from your lectures, which I'm watching from the hospital. I've not given up on the preparation." Yes, those army ethos really are something to be very proud of.
Pranay, I am genuinely speaking from the bottom of my heart, speaking to you, being in conversation with you. I am truly inspired to do something worthwhile that you are doing, and very few people actually do something concrete in life and they contribute to the society. I think you are an epitome of that. And I, being an international TEDx speaker, having given so many TEDx talks, I find the subject that you cover very apt. The idea that which came to your mind, and the idea you can spread forward, very apt for a TEDx talk actually. And I really hope and pray that you get some brilliant TEDx talks. I don't know if you would so desire or not. I don't know, but I desire that for you. And so that is why we are reaching 18 minutes, and the TEDx talk is 18 minutes long. So, but
Right.
I that is my personal take, and I really hope and wish and pray that you get the best TEDx talk. That is my desire and my ambition for you, so that you
Thanks a
continue
lot, Ali.
spreading your positivity, your enlightenment, and your stories to the world, Pranay. Any last message you would like to give to our viewers before we part ways?
Surely, thanks a lot, Ali. And I would love to have that opportunity if it comes my way, or
You will.
if that
You will,
happens.
certainly will.
Because
Very
TEDx is
soon.
it's a very, I would say, a huge and prestigious platform. There are certain things which I have learned over the pandemic years, particularly when it comes to online teaching, which I think can, a lot of teachers and students community can benefit from. One important thing is like online learning. Otherwise, a lot of people have apprehension in a country like India because we are accustomed to the conventional way of teaching, which is in the classroom. So a lot of my students also, when I started it during the pandemic, the apprehension was that it may miss that personal touch that is there in the classroom. So I have been able to somewhat devise certain simple ways which can, bring that personal touch even in online teaching. So I hope that I can share that with a wider audience, and I would love that. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
once again, I would say thanks a lot for having me. It was lovely being on your show.
Thank you for taking your time. I'm truly grateful to you, and I know how busy it is, and I know your students really must be loving you like anything. And I really wish I was also a student. Whether I aspire to join IAS or not, I would get to learn so much from you. You are a body of, you are an encyclopedia basically. And I've heard this on your panel discussion that you do on television and the analysis that you give out, Pranay. Thank you so much for taking your time. Really grateful to you. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
Okay.